Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to the Ohio Patriot Education Network channel. I am, as always, your host, AR, aka the Ohio Patriot, aka the Network. So, for today's episode, we will be talking about grid down and the thin veil of humanity that exists in our society currently, and just how, animalistic people might become if our grid were to go down, if our country were to fall apart, balkanize, civil war, revolution, whatever the case be. Doesn't really matter. So the thing is, a lot of people don't want to talk about grid down, but here's the thing, man, and I'm just going to lay it out flat. And I will preface this, by the way. I am not now, nor have I ever thought about attacking our power grid. Why would I? I'm a fucking American. I'm an American citizen. I actually like having power. I'm not a fucking idiot that tries to destroy us from the inside out like fucking a bunch of Chinese plants and stuff that are here is what it is, dude. Or, fucking Middle Eastern foreign nationals or anything else like that, dude. A bunch of illegals from, all across the fucking countries. El Salvador, Honduras, Venezuela, all those places like that like to live in third world shitholes is what it is, dude. And really don't care if they have power or not. And that basically leads to something that, we are going to talk about right now in that phrase of stuff, which is for those that don't know, on a regular basis, the American power grid has been attacked pretty much every day by the people I just mentioned. There's always active physical threats against our power grid, and there's also very much hundreds, if not thousands, a day of cyber attacks against our power grid from other countries and stuff like that. Thankfully, we have a lot of people in places right now that actually give a shit about, the American power grid, and they'll do their jobs properly and be able to deal with those cyber attacks and in a lot of cases deal with those physical threats and stuff like that. Of course, you never hear mainstream media talking about this stuff because why would they? Because all it would do, it's just like the serial killer thing or more recently the mass shooter thing, which is basically, you talk about it enough and it's just going to cause more people to do it is what it is, dude. It's just like back in the day when you had, hillside stranglers and stuff like that's what it was. And then you had a bunch, like a rash uptick in people becoming serial killers or doing like copycat killing and stuff like that. And it's the same way with fucking mainstream media nowadays with the, 24-hour news cycle and them basically being like, oh, look, here's this mass shooter that did this thing and this thing and this thing. And here's this whole thing about how they got fucking their stupidity is what it was, dude. And let me go ahead and let's go ahead and fucking plaster their face and their name and everything else out there. And then you fucking literally create more of these fucking people is what it is, dude. So, but yeah. So anyway, but yeah, the grid down thing, like I could see a couple different ways for our grid to go down if it were to go down permanently. And I think the biggest one among them would be EMP attacks right now. And I think honestly it would be from countries like China or Russia or any of them really is what it is, dude. Like if they want to go and do some shit, it would be something like that I was gonna say that movie, but it's actually a book. The book 1 second after that should be a fucking TV series at this point, honestly. And yeah, the basis of that book, the gist of the plot line for that book was basically, I believe it was China or some other country like that essentially shot up. It was nuclear warheads, I believe, into our atmosphere, like above the U.S. hemisphere is what it was. And if you do it in like a certain way or whatever, at least they did it in that way in that book. I don't know if this actually happened in real life or not, if it would be successful or not. But basically, they shot them up like a few hundred miles into, our atmosphere, and it essentially created a, static effect, if you will, and then basically was just a giant EMP burst, is what it was, and it just knocked out all the power, is what it was then. So my thinking is, this is something people were talking about last night with that show Black Summer. And I've reviewed that on this channel before, and then it was taken down with everything else that was taken down on this channel before. Uh, Everything that happened with me in the last few months and stuff like that. But anywho, so basically, the issue I have with that series, the Black Summer series, and others like it is, I feel like Hollywood's just bullshitting in a lot of cases, dude. I feel like they just don't know how to write things, and they'll just go like the worst possibility of humanity and stuff like that is what it is. And comparing that to, let's go ahead and say Z Nation, which is what Black Summer was based on. And there was also talk in that of like, cannibalism and shit like that as well and whatnot. And Now, granted, as far as I'm aware, Black Summer has not gotten to the cannibalistic aspect of stuff yet, but there was talk in the Z Nation series in the first, I think, like 4 or 5 episodes of that show, where the one chick was like, "Oh yeah, Black Summer, we couldn't find food or whatever, and people still existed and stuff like that is what it was, and it was a whole thing that way and shit." But yeah, the Black Summer TV series though, especially season 2, the biggest issue I have is like the infighting amongst the groups and stuff like that. Because my thing is, I don't think it would be like that, honestly, dude. I mean, to some extent, it might be like you might have like 1 or 2 rogue elements, is what it is. But for the most part, like I believe truthfully, and especially because obviously I'm going by what I was listening to last night, which was NEA's Open Liberty podcast and stuff like that. My thing is doing trades post grid down, and mind you, this is something that even Duke brought up and stuff, which was, it's going to be a while before you actually get to that trade part of humanity and stuff like that in the post grid down world. And it might be something like Jericho, that episode Blackjack, where they went to the fairgrounds and it was basically, some ass kicking guys and stuff like that controlled the motherfucking place, and there was no guns allowed in the place, and people had to check their firearms and everything else like that. And then you basically just had dudes walking around with extendable batons, is what it was, to just like kick the shit out of people and stuff. If anybody tried to like fight or steal or whatever it was there. And I feel like it would be a lot like that, honestly. I feel like there would be a lot of shit like that, is what it would be, dude. Like you would have like a trading post like that, most likely, in like a grid down, and it would be something like that where it would be very, very authoritarian and very, hey, you play by our rules or you don't play at all kind of thing, is what it is, dude. Because again, if you're gonna be taking a cartload of salt or a fucking bunch of baskets of tomatoes or fucking 100 pounds of fucking potatoes or something like that to trade, like you're gonna want to know that you're protected and being able to trade freely without having to have somebody shove a gun in your face and pull the trigger or whatever the case be then. And I think that's a lot of what would happen, honestly. You would have trading posts in the post grid down world. You wouldn't really have like individual trades, or you might have something where it's like community and community, make a thing of like, hey, you come here at this time or whatever kind of deal, and it's like you show up at like 1 p.m. or we don't show up at all kind of thing, is what it is then. Like you're 1 minute late, 5 minutes late, whatever it is. We just assume you're about to fuck us over and we dip out really quick, is what it is, dude, and you'll never hear from us again kind of thing. And I think that's what it would be. And I think there'd be a lot of those cases where potentially, if you would be doing trades like that, it would be the either threat of, oh yeah, my buddy over here has a fucking sniper rifle pointed at your head, and it's like, okay, cool, because our buddy over there has one pointed at your head too, kind of thing, for at least the first little bit is what it'll be then. And now, granted, I think again the thin veil of humanity that people never really talk about is you have civility in this country, and this is something that we've seen a lot of recently falling, is the civility, especially in major cities run by Democrats in this nation. This is something I talked about in I believe it was the last Grandstand. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to say. Welcome back to another episode of the Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network channel. But yeah, I totally forgot to do that at the beginning of this. So we're already 9 minutes in now. But yeah, so basically in I think it was 5th or 6th episode of the Grandstand, I talked about, the left being the problem and stuff like that, and how we showed the video of the Wawa where it was a bunch of, young teens and preteens and just punk ass kids is what it was, dude. Trying to basically destroy this place. And then meanwhile, you had some dumb bitch being like, can I still get my sandwich, man? You still gonna make my, I think it's how she put it. It's like, you still gonna make my sandwich, man? Or something like that. And it's like, no, bitch, get the fuck out of here. You have like 100 people ransacking our fucking store. Go fuck yourself. And mind you, that's while the grid's still up. Like, that's a scary fact. That's while the grid is still up, that you have people in certain, backgrounds in this country that are fucking willing to do that shit. Now imagine what shit would be like if the grid is down, they have no food, they have no water, and how truly, animalistic, human nature to animal nature that people are going to revert to. And that's why I think, truthfully, you've had our government even do scenarios about, zombies and stuff like that, because it's not going to be actual, reanimated corpses. It's going to be starving cannibals, basically, is what it would be. That would be the zombies in the Grit Down, dude. And I think that's why you're going to see so many cities fall quickly. And I think, honestly, when it comes to surviving to a trading aspect of things, it's going to be a situation where, yeah, the only people that are going to be trading in the Grid Down, dude, are going to be those that came from rural areas, kept their shit together, kept their community, safe, and were heavily fucking armed against outside intruders, is what it was, dude. Those are going to be the only people that are going to be able to actually be around after that time period. Anybody that's in a major city, unless you become like a de facto warlord or something, dude, and you are running like a giant fucking, gang of people and shit like that, like Negan style, essentially, you ain't making it, dude. Or unless you're part of that fucking Negan style group in those major cities, but even still, like, you're gonna have dog eat dog shit going on there, dude. You're gonna have literally fucking gang warfare going on in these major cities all the time, dude. Not to mention, the power structure again, the grid itself being very much vital to all that shit, dude. Whether it be power to keep the lights on, or whether it be power to keep the water and sewage and stuff running. Because I don't know about you, man. I remember after what was it, Hurricane Sandy? I think that's what it was, when it hit New York and stuff like that, and then New Jersey as well, back in Obama's administration. And you had people literally walking into New York high rises about 4 or 5 stories up, taking a shit in the fucking doorstep of people's fucking apartments, and then walking away and walking back to wherever. And it might not even been 4 or 5 stories up. It might have been like 2 stories or something like that, dude, because that's all the further they could walk up before they'd take a shit, basically. And yeah, you had people literally shitting in fucking hallways, dude, during that. There's video of a whole bunch of people, like hundreds, if not thousands, descending on this giant dumpster where it was still edible food that was being tossed out like a few days before. That's what it was, because people couldn't, it was considered to be like product that had to be tossed, essentially, because of grid and power grid and everything like that. And people were like, "Nah, bro," and they fucking like broke the lock, went up in there and grabbed whatever they could. And some of it was like melting ice cream, some of it was other shit, honestly, dude. And speaking of that, another thing happened during Obama's administration. People might not remember this. So this is something I want to talk about right now, is the EBT system, the electronic benefit transaction system, aka food stamps. The entire food stamp cards are owned by Chase Bank. People may not know that. During Obama's administration, this is about 2013, I think, maybe 14-ish midterms, somewhere in there. There was like 6 to 8 days where you basically had people that couldn't get their cards to work. And they're like, "Hey, what the hell's going on here? I'm trying to feed my kids and stuff like that." And it's like, well, maybe you should work for a living and not expect fucking Big Daddy government to take care of you, bitch. And that was the problem, dude. And I think that's the problem right now, is too many of these fucking people rely on government, dude. And they think, and that's why you'll see so many status bitches too, by the way, because they're like, "Oh, but I need my EBT. I gotta get my food stamps, bro." It's like, no, go get a fucking job. Go work like the rest of us, motherfucker. Or don't fucking survive, is what it is, kind of thing. And I think that's exactly why you will see a lot of tribalism during grid down and stuff like that, dude, where you will see people go, in a lot of cases, by race, is what it is. Because people are fucking figuring that out now, dude. And the thing is, like I'm gonna say, like it is, man. When it comes to white people in this country, they are way behind the curve when it comes to tribalism, dude. Because they have all, like, we have pretty much already. You have so many people that have embraced quote unquote multiculturalism in this nation that they don't understand that is what's going to kill this fucking country, dude. The whole forced diversity, if you will, is what's going to destroy America in the long run. And it's because you literally have cultures that will clash. You have people, specifically Islam, that our founding fathers even called out by name, or were like, yeah, this fucking whole entire thing is banned from this nation, dude. And that was in the founding days of this fucking country, dude, 240 some odd years ago. And it should still be that way, honestly. But the thing of it is, when you have these fucking people being brought in mass to our nation, dude, and, you know, they refuse to learn our language, they refuse to learn English, they refuse to abide by our fucking laws and stuff like that. They want to, you know, import Sharia, basically, is what it is there, or something else for that matter, depending on where they're coming from. You know, communism, socialism, cultural Marxism, all that shit. It's hard to be like, no, there's not going to be culture clashes, dude, because there will be. And that's the thing. And that's why I believe there will be tribalism going on in this country a lot, dude, and grid down. Where it's like, yeah, we don't fucking know you. Like, get the fuck out of here kind of thing, dude. And a lot of it'll be based on neighborhoods, dude. It might be like neighborhood tribalism for that matter, dude. It might not even be based on race, even. It might just be like, hey, you know, here's like 100 people from like the same fucking neighborhood that know each other. You know, their families know my family kind of thing is what it is. And it's like, yeah, we don't know these fucking guys over here or whatever. Like, make sure to keep those dudes out is what it is kind of thing is what it would be then. So, anyway, I think that's what's going to happen a lot. And I think, again, that's what's going to lead to a lot of, you know, unintended death is what it would be then for people. Because you have people that would be like, you know, they don't understand what the hell's going on. And then eventually they get, you know, fired upon or whatever it is there, dude. So, or it would be something like, you know, during the LA race riots and stuff like that, dude, where you had Koreatown attacked and you literally had the term roof Korean being coined because they were protecting themselves versus a bunch of Hispanic gangbangers is what it was, dude. Because people even said it, they're like, oh, it's the black people coming in there taking your shit, right? And they're like, no, dude, it's the Latinos that are coming in here and trying to jack our shit, dude. It's the gangbanging Latinos that are in here trying to burn down our business and shit like that. And it makes me wonder, like, some of those young guys that were like, you know, 18 to 22, give or take, teenagers, early 20 somethings, in those videos that were like, yeah, we're shooting up. Those guys are in their 50s now, dude. Like, that's what the funny thing to think about now is it's like, yeah, you have those dudes back then that are now like in their fucking 50s and maybe even 60s now. And it's just like, you know, what are they doing now? Like, what happened to them, you know, 30 years later is what it was, dude. So I know a couple of them have died. I know at least one of those guys that was one of the quote unquote roof Koreans is now a sitting judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Kenneth was his name, and he was actually appointed by Trump. So, yeah, you know, it's funny to think about that, dude. That one of those guys that literally was protecting their businesses and their family's businesses and stuff like that is now a sitting judge who's all pro 2A as fuck is what it is, dude, as they should be. So, but the whole thing is though, you know, going back and talking about, you know, grid down and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot of fucking bad shit that happens, dude, leading up to potentially trading and stuff with other communities or other individuals or whatever then. And like I said, I think that's why you're going to have people that would be, you know, like almost like a guaranteed trading post thing. And it's going to be like almost like a word of mouth kind of deal where it's like, hey, you know, there's like this supposed post going on over here where people are willing to trade stuff at this like fairgrounds or whatever it is, dude. And it would be sort of like an open air market and stuff like that, which, you know, we've seen open air markets across this world forever is what it is, dude. I mean, hell, you've had them in every country for decades now, if not centuries, actually. And actually, it is more like centuries because you can even go back to the fucking, you know, like the Persian Empire and stuff like that, and various African empires and stuff back in the day. And they had open air markets back then. I mean, hell, you still have that in a lot of African countries today. The sad part is there's a few documentaries out there. There's one that's called I forget if it's called like Burner Boys or what it's called, but it's basically about these guys in one of these African nations where all of our computer equipment is sent and stuff like that. And it's basically a trash heap that we put on this country. We turn this country into a trash heap, which is just sad. And it's not just America, by the way. It's every fucking first world and second world nation, dude, that sends their shit there. They're just like, no, we're gonna dump it over here, and it's all the computer parts and everything else like that don't work anymore. And these young guys who are like, you know, fucking 8 years old, 10 years old, 14 years old, whatever it is, will go there and they'll take literal piles of wire that have a bunch of shit on them, start the shit on fire to get to the actual raw materials, and they're literally burning this just like crazy black smoke that's just full of fucking garbage chemicals. Is going to kill them when they're by the time they're like 22, 23. And the worst thing is, you have an open air market that's like a street or two over from that where they're doing all the burning, and they have food laid out on various blankets and shit for sale, dude. And it's like, you cannot tell me that that food is any kind of edible after that, dude, when it's gotten that fucking smoke and shit in it, dude, and the soot and everything else like that from that smoke. So, and then of course there's, other ones like Zimbabwe has had open air markets for, decades. You've had South African country, like South Africa specifically, has had the stuff. You've had other parts of, Africa, whether it be the Ivory Coast or whatever the case be. But of course, you also have, and this is another thing too, by the way, people never bring up when it comes to Grid Down, is the warlord aspect of things. Because when you look at specifically all these African countries, whether it be the Ivory Coast or whatever it is there, that's one of the places, specifically the Ivory Coast is one of those places that's been in turmoil for pretty much a century now, dude. It's just like one warlord after another, one, false regime after another, where it's you have one guy put into power by whatever government, and then you have another one installed by the US government or some shit like that, or you have like some fucking sham election or whatever it is there to basically, put this person in there. And yeah, it's just a bunch of crazy shit, dude. And unfortunately, with that kind of stuff, all it leads to then is you have just rebellion after rebellion after rebellion. And then, of course, you get movies like Lord of War, which is based on reality, and it's about people who will sell illegal guns to these people, dude. Whether it be the warlords that are in charge of these countries, or whether it be the people trying to rebel against them, is what it is, dude. And it's just a sad situation all the way around, man. And the crazy part is how much of that hardware is coming from the United States, dude. How much of it is just us leaving our shit over in these countries, dude, to then be taken and resold by the fucking ton, basically, is what it is, dude. And it's like, meanwhile, it's like, no, bro, you send a plane over there and you send a couple guys over there and you bring back those fucking full auto ARs and AKs and everything else like that. And you sell those people, you sell that shit to the American people, motherfuckers. And that's my biggest problem with all that, dude, is like, we as a country right now, every citizen in this nation, in the United States of America, that can legally own a firearm, dude, should be able to purchase full auto, period. Whether it be in a private sale or whether it be from FFL, I do not care. We should all be having access to full auto, dude, at minimum. The NFA can go fuck itself, is what it is, man. Straight up. And that's the biggest problem I have with so many people that will buy tax stamps for various suppressors and fucking silencers and SBRs and SBSs and all this other shit like that. AOWs, whatever you want to call them at that point. They're just justifying the fucking system, dude. And I'm sick of it. And that's why I hate that part of the 2A community so much, dude, because it's like, you're not really 2A when you're literally paying for a fucking licensing fee, dude. And the thing that people don't realize when it comes to specifically the National Firearms Act and the tax stamps that go with it, dude, the second that you have one of those tax stamps, you just forfeited your Fourth Amendment rights to illegal search and seizures, dude. The ATF and any other alphabet agency can come into your house anytime they want after that, man. That's just another reason to not have that shit, dude. That's just another reason to tell Biden and fucking ATF to go fuck themselves when it comes to that pistol-brace amnesty bullshit they're putting up right now, where they're literally trying to get people to do a de facto registry for them, dude, of who has the shit. And it's like, no, tell these people to go fuck off, dude. We'll see your asses in court. We'll take you out that way through fucking court fucking battles and shit like that, dude. And your agency won't exist anymore, motherfuckers. And it really is as simple as that, honestly. So, anywho, but same thing with the DOJ and shit like that, dude. It's a bunch of fucking fuckboys that shouldn't exist right now, is what it is, dude. Same thing with the FBI. I have first-hand knowledge of that. I have first knowledge of what kind of dickheads these people are, dude, when they literally tell you to your face, we wasted 6 days on this? Yeah. Where you literally could have fucking called me on the phone and been like, hey, dude, somebody reported your video to us. It might be bordering on some shit, but, like, we don't really think you did anything wrong, but if you, like, we are the FBI and stuff like that, like, we will come out to the house there to talk with you or whatever for a couple minutes. Like even when I talked to the fucking main dude, Timothy, the day before, so it was that night that they first came and knocked on my doors and my windows and shit like that. And it's like, dude, y'all could have just fucking been straight with me on the fucking phone and been like, hey, yes, you were, reported to us as a potential threat or whatever the case be. Like, we don't think you're a threat, but again, we have to go up on this shit because God knows, Dayton just happened, all shit like that. And they could have been straightforward with me about it, dude. Instead, because I even asked them, I'm like, what is this about? Is this about, like, because mind you, at the time, and I've told this before in the stories and stuff, dude, when I came to my federal swatting, is I had actually reported some dude who supposedly was in Texas a few months before that, who I'm pretty sure was fucking 100% Antifa. I assumed it was me catching a fucking terrorist, dude, and them coming out to talk to me about that shit. And then being like, hey, just to let you know, like, we wanted to follow up with you on this and stuff like that. Like, we know you got, like, if nothing else, maybe start paying me for fucking information or something like that kind of thing or whatever, dude. And, like, working for him as, like, an informant or some shit like that, dude, or something. But no, it was them literally coming out here and being like, no, we're going to fuck with you now because you put something up there and you forgot to edit out some shit is what it was, dude. And fucking, yeah, it became a whole fucking mess is what it was then. And the thing is, like, they could have just told me about it. They could have just told me about it, like, literally 24 hours before that. But no, they wanted to be the assholes and be like, ha ha ha, gotcha. And that's what it was, dude. They wanted the gotcha thing. They wanted the surprise fucking element is what it was. And being like, well, we probably could charge you with something here. And it's like, okay, then why am I not in handcuffs already, asshole? Oh, yeah, that's right, because you got fucking nothing. Because you have a fucking thought crime. And let me tell you right now, buddy, thought crimes aren't real crimes, Timmy. And his fucking idiot asshole fucking partner who looked like a fucking discount Hank Schrader. I really wish I knew what that fucking son of a bitch's name was, dude, because that guy was a fucking douchebag, too. He was the motherfucker who kept trying to get me to implicate myself, is what it was, dude. And I'm like, no, bro, I'm not going down this road with you. Go fuck yourself, basically, is what it was. Because his whole thing was basically trying to get me into an I versus if scenario. And it's like, I'm not saying I said anything because I didn't say anything, you fucking asshole. It was if this thing were to happen kind of thing. Literally, what if scenario, jackass. And yeah, he kept trying to fucking get me to, like, essentially incriminate myself is what it was. And I'm like, no, go fuck off, dude. Like, that's the thing, dude. And that's what people don't realize what weaponized autism is what it is, dude. Like, you fucking weaponize autism and you put it into a guy who is totally constitutionalist, like myself. Yeah. That's what you end up with. You end up with a guy who's going to tell you to go fuck yourself and use the Constitution to do it, man. So, anyway. But yeah, as it is, I can still buy guns. I can still, do what needs to be done here. So yeah, I still don't have a criminal record. I never have. And I never will, hopefully. But anyway, going back to the grit down thing, though, the entire point I'm trying to make is, you'll have various, things happening with grit down that will, be like an onset thing is what it is, dude. And it's basically the way I see it playing out right now. And again, this is a what if scenario. I'm going to go through it now. Exercise, game theory, all that stuff like that. Wargaming, if you will. I believe there's several different ways that America could fall as a nation right now. I think we are so politically divided as it stands right now. You could go with a few different types of things. You could either go balkanization route, which you would essentially have federal government trying to fight state governments at that point, and nobody wins in that kind of scenario is what it is. And unfortunately, I think there'd be a lot of cases, and this is why this hasn't happened yet, because you'd have a lot of governors and a lot of general assemblies in these states just cuck out to tyranny at a fucking federal level is what it is, dude. And I've talked to my state rep about that recently, and he pretty much freely admitted he's a little fucking spineless bitch is what it is, dude. And that's why I'm seriously debating about primarying his ass in 2024 if we make it to that point in time in history. So, but anyway, yeah, my biggest issue is with any of that stuff, it's like, no, dude, like, federal rights don't trump states' rights. There's a reason why our founding fathers created the 10th Amendment for states' rights to begin with. And it was shit that the fucking federal government, or any government for that matter, had no legal authority to do to American citizens is what it was, dude. And that's why I think the problem with so many people that get into political office and become, instead of being the civil servants they're supposed to be, they become politicians and stuff like that, is that once they become politicians, they don't care about the constituency anymore, man. So anyway, but yeah, the entire point though is you would have a scenario like that basically possibly be possible where it would be like some kind of balkanization or whatever, a bunch of states finally just have it with the fucking federal government. Be like, no, you hold no power here, go fuck yourself kind of thing is what it is. That would be scenario 1. Scenario 2 would be you would actually have something like the book 1 Second After, which would be whether it be China or Russia or some other fucking, you know, world power would come out of nowhere, potentially EMP our atmosphere, take out our grid that way. That's scenario 2. If that one played out, that would be very, very harsh as well. And I believe that truthfully, that would actually be worse than balkanization, because at least with balkanization, there's the possibility of the power grid still being up. Whereas with the second scenario, the potential 1 second after scenario, you would have a few cars working that would basically be pre, I think, 1970 something. Like anything after like 1970s or so would be gone. Any modern day car that has electronics underneath the hood is dead in the water, dude. It would be like that show Revolution where the people are just driving down the fucking road and then all of a sudden you just see every car's lights just sort of flicker out and they just don't come back on. And then it's the highways and stuff like that are just lined with fucking vehicles forever, basically is what it is, dude. Until people figure out a way to like, you know, sort of push a few of them off to the side and make a path is what it would be then. So that potentially could be one of the bigger scenarios. Another scenario would be you actually have terrorists, whether it be Chinese or Islamic or anything else like that, already inside of our country right now because we've invited them in, or I shouldn't say we've invited them in, our fucking dumbass fucking government officials have invited them in because they're fucking terrorists of this country, and have literally brought our enemies to our doorstep, and it would be those people that would be physically attacking our grid and taking it down that way, which in of itself could lead to another thing as well, and there's a whole thing there. There's a channel on YouTube here called, I think it's Elite Preparedness. I think that's what the guy's name is. And he is some kind of law enforcement for a couple decades now. He did a whole scenario thing. I want to say it was about 5 or 6 years ago on his channel. I think it's still there. And it was essentially like a build your own story kind of thing. And it was basically what I'm talking about right now with like grid down kind of shit. And yet in that one, it was basically like terrorist bombings and stuff is what it was. It just kept people, you know, on edge with fear mongering and fear of going anywhere, basically is what it was. And then eventually you had the power grid go down because, again, people didn't show up to work. And that could be another scenario too, by the way, as you have something like that where it's like you have people just like feared and being fear mongered into place, similar to 2020 lockdowns, by the way, where they just don't show up to work, and you have so many people that don't show up to work that are vitally essential to keeping our power grid up and running, that the shit just goes down that way. And it doesn't go down like all at once or whatever the case be. It's just like gradually just starts declining and declining and declining and declining until eventually, like, you know, the last turbines stop running and stuff like that. No, you turn on the faucet one day, you don't have any fucking running water, or you can't flush the toilet to actually, you know, get rid of your shit or anything else like that. And yeah, it's a whole fucking thing then. And there's a bunch of other scenarios as well on that one. And I think a lot of it could end up being a situation of there's a lot of crazy shit in this country, and I wouldn't put it past groups like Antifa or BLM to also do some terroristic shit like that, dude. Because I remember there was a guy back in, I know it was during Trump. It was either right as Trump was getting elected or it was like the year after Trump got elected. And it was an ICE facility. There was some dude that attacked an ICE facility down in, I believe it was either Oregon or Washington State. And he was shooting at stuff with a rifle. He was shooting at Transformers specifically with a rifle is what it was, dude. And that guy had ties to Antifa. And it was basically, he was trying to destroy the grid at that point, dude. In like the local area there is what it was. And trying to fuck with the infrastructure is what it ended up being, dude. And so, thank God he was stopped and killed, is what it was, man. But yeah, it's just like shit like that, dude. Like, I could easily see stuff like that happening, honestly, dude. It's like, and the problem with it is, again, going back to the EMP scenarios, man, you know, even a solar flare could take out our grid right now, dude. And the real problem is, again, you have our government, you know, pissing away billions and billions upon trillions of fucking dollars to wars overseas, to funding fucking border walls overseas, to giving fucking Sri Lanka speedboats and all kinds of other stupid bullshit, dude, and these omnibus bills. And yet, not one fucking dollar in the last basically 20 years has gone to actually funding the hardening of our fucking grid against EMP attacks and shit like that. Now, granted, there's a couple different, small corporations out there that they've done, pseudo infrastructure of their own places, what it is, dude. So you'll have a building or two here and there. You'll have maybe some vehicles here and there in that building that are hardened to EMPs and stuff like that, dude, or some kind of solar flare event or whatever the case be. But yeah, for the most part, all of our shit's gone, dude. And that's what I think is so hilarious when people are talking about, like, oh, if the Americans ever rose up against fucking government, like, we would just be stomped out so quickly because drones and fucking planes and all kinds of technology. It's like, yeah, and that shit doesn't fucking work when EMPs all hit it and destroy it, dude. Like, that's the big thing that people never bring up as a fact, dude. Is that the second that an EMP hits or a fucking solar flare hits or whatever the case be, all that technology gone, dude, in the fucking blink of an eye. It is literally fucking rust on a machine on the fucking ground for the rest of its days, dude. It's the exact same shit as Revolution where the fucking cars stopped working, dude. It's all just going to sit there and it's going to continue to rust and become obsolete over time. And that's the thing. And that's why you would have us go back to almost like a first generation of warfare in a potential, grid down EMP solar flare attack kind of things would be there. I shouldn't say attack. I should just say EMP/solar flare kind of deal, where it would be something like that. Is what it would be, man. Because that's truth at the end of the day. Or it might be an attack from our fucking enemies, for that matter, dude. What better way for fucking a China or a Russia to come in here and fucking take us over than be like, oh, let's go ahead and knock out your fucking power grid first. Oh, we're gonna give you these generators that work now. Okay, cool. Hey Americans, you want food and water, right? Oh yeah, we're gonna be your UN peacekeepers now. Yeah, go fuck yourself, China and Russia and everybody else out there. Fucking enemies of America. Sons of bitches. Anyway, but yeah, needless to say, the entire thing I'm trying to say here is I think you're gonna see a lot of crazy shit happen that potentially could lead to a grid down. And I think an EMP kind of deal or solar flare kind of deal would be one of the biggest ones right now. And the reason I say that is because I remember I was on my phone the other day and it said something about how it's like, oh yeah, there's a giant solar flare heading towards Earth a few days ago. And I'm just like, has it come yet or not? Because if it did, like, that might not be a good thing, man. We might be out of power here pretty soon. And that is really not good going into winter now, dude. And that's another thing, by the way, going back to people getting to trading and stuff like that. Wintertime in any state that you would have to have heat in, you're fucked, dude. Which again would lead to its own thing, which would be mass migration. We're already seeing that stuff overseas in various countries with economic migration, where you have these people go from, some African country or whatever the case be to some European nation like a Britain or a fucking Sweden or a Finland or whatever it is there, dude. And then, it's the same deal with that. Then you'd have people that they knew they couldn't survive, in New York or a fucking Chicago or whatever the case be during, the coldest parts of the month. And you would have them literally mass migrate to the southern states. They would go towards Texas. They would go towards Arizona, New Mexico and stuff like that. And they would try to beat the fucking cold is what it is, dude. And again, that goes back to that Jericho show. Even, that's one thing that they were showing there in that. And it was basically the, remnants of all these people walking through a whole area is what it was, because they were trying to beat the cold is what it was then. And unfortunately, what that's going to lead to is you're going to have a lot of dead camps is what it is, dude. You're going to have a small group of people, whatever it is, dude, 3 or 4 people or something like that. They're going out there to do hunting and shit. And they'll just come upon a whole, large group of dead people is what it is, man. And the thing is, unintentional cannibalism. Let's go down that road, Cannibal Monday and stuff like that. If you're hungry enough, man, and the bodies are kind of frozen and you're starving, like, I think there's going to be a lot of people that would just be like, all right, load them up, baby. And they just start processing. They might not let the townspeople know what the fuck they're eating, but they're just eating meat. At that point, it's like, hey, You're not hungry, are you? And they're like, no. It's like, oh, just to let everybody know, we found a camp out here, and yeah, that's what you ate for dinner tonight. Like, now, granted, there'd be people that would freak the fuck out and probably come to blows and shit after that, I'm sure. But in general, there would be a lot of shit like that going on. Or it's like, what's that one movie? There is a movie. Trying to think who's starting it now. It was the chick from Blue Crush and the dude who is the Superman and Lois Superman. The guy who was in Teen Wolf back in the day, Tyler Crutchland, or how to pronounce the guy's name. It was the two of them as a married couple, and it was basically about our government, of all things, shocker, government's fucking terrible, basically unloading some fucking virus over the population and killing off like a whole bunch of population of America and stuff like that. And it was basically the gangs that rose up after that. And it was like various gangs and stuff like that, and like everyday people as well. Like this couple is what it was. And then yeah, during that movie, you had it was them meeting some dude and his family, and they were like, "Oh yeah, these burgers are really good, man." The guy's like, "What kind of meat do you think those burgers are?" And the guy's like, "Nah." And the dude's like, "Yeah, dude, the deer population's been gone forever, ever since all this shit happened. And everything else has been gone too. Like, we have to do what we have to do to survive, bro." And the guy's like, "I can't believe you fed that to me." And he's like, "Bro, we all ate it." So again, it's like unintention. How am I saying that? Unintended cannibalism is what it would be then in that kind of situation. I'm not down with that. I'm gonna say it like that right now, honestly, dude. But again, I don't know what would happen if I was hungry enough. I don't think any American or any human being for that matter knows that. Knows their own limits is what it would be, man. So you never know, man. And again, like, do people really think the people that were stranded up in fucking various plane crashes wanted to eat their fucking dead buddies and shit? No. They needed to do what they needed to do to survive, man. And eventually it became a thing of when you're hungry enough, you will survive. End of story is what it basically comes down to being. So, anywho, the entire point, though, is that I definitely believe that there will be shit like that. And unfortunately, going to the trading aspect of things, who's to say that there won't be a few bands of cannibals and stuff like that that would, survive in that grid down and stuff like that and be the people that were quote unquote traders to trade you stuff. And then again, it goes back to that situation of, who's to say that they're not going to lay a trap for you and they come out, 30, 40 deep and now you're on the fucking plate for dinner is what it is, dude, kind of thing. It's like, yeah, we got a new menu tonight. It's called you, buddy. So, I don't know. That's actually more like Doomsday. By the way, if you've never seen that movie, it's really good. It had I'm trying to remember what that chick's name is. She was the one that played the doctor in The Last Ship. By the way, if you never watched The Last Ship is a really good grid down, dude, because it's based like just to that. Obviously, it's been off the air for years now. It was a TNT series, and it was basically about a ship that was sent out into. That was like a U.S. Navy ship that was sent out into the Arctic, I believe, to get like samples and stuff, or under the gaze to get like some kind of weird sample or whatever the case be. But in reality, it was like some chick gathering other samples, is what it was, to fight this like plague disease. And it was basically the people of that eventually were able to find the cure for this whole like outbreak, is what it was. That I'm pretty sure was actually proven to be, again, government created shit, is what it was, dude. Because, shocker, democide always exists with governments, dude, no matter what. That's why you should never trust the fucking government, especially not federal governments, is what it is, dude. But anywho, the entire point is, though, is that, yeah, you have, them basically doing the thing. And then, of course, you had in the one season of that show, people that were naturally immune to the virus, where it's like, yeah, you can't catch the shit or whatever, but like, you and again, that's what also leads to like cult kind of things as well, because it's, in that scenario, it was those people like a couple hundred or whatever that were like, yeah, we're the true chosen ones because we survived this because of some random like DNA junk or whatever in our DNA is what it was, dude. Like some random like junk sequence in the DNA structure or something like that. So, but anyway. And I think that's what it would be a lot of times actually with a lot of those ones because, even if it is like a man-made virus, which I think that one specifically was, you can never get everybody's what it is, dude. Like you're always going to have like some, small group of people that would be immune to it no matter what because again, they have that like junk DNA sequence or whatever as like one or two strands of DNA in their system is what it would be then. So, but anywho, and that could be another thing too, by the way, going back to grid down stuff, could be something like that, could be fucking bioweapons that take us a bunch of us out is what it is, dude. I mean, hell, look back at 2020. And you cannot tell me that there's not governments trying to do fucking DNA sequencing now, dude. I mean, hell, this is why you should never use fucking 23andMe and stuff like that, dude, because your DNA shit goes straight to China, dude. And it's like, again, why would you freely give these fuckers your DNA right now, dude? Ever. All they're going to do is use that to make some kind of fucked up thing that's going to target you next, is what it is, man. So, anywho. Not to mention, it could be something in our fucking food supply for that matter, That's another one as well. Could be like some outbreak in the food supply, you never know. It could be some kind of weird, like, zombie disease or whatever the case be, and it, actually creates, like, real zombies is what it would be then. And then you'd have, people that would, freak the fuck out and deal with it that way. But of course, difference between our universe and the universe of The Walking Dead is that we actually know about zombies, whereas they did not. And that's why they had people that didn't understand. Yeah, you gotta, permanently take them down with a bullet or something else to the fucking head is what it is, dude. A bullet through the brain, a fucking knife through the head, a fucking, axe, baseball bat, or whatever the case be, or anything else for that matter, man. Fucking tire iron, a hammer, anything for that matter. Hell, a fireplace poker through the eye straight to the fucking brainstem for that matter works too. So, there was a lot of different interesting kills in that show. Now I'm thinking about it, man, over the last 11 seasons. So, anyway, but yeah, like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of crazy shit that happens though, and if you look at, like I said, going back to when we were talking about the other day with the Wawa story and stuff, dude. If you have people acting like that while the grid is still up, dude, when it falls, oh my god, they will be the people like Black Summer, man, where it's like every man for himself kind of shit. Whereas you might have other groups of people that are out in rural areas and stuff like that, where they're like, nah, bro, it's kind of like The Walking Dead, and it's like we're gonna have community and be able to intermingle and shit like that is what it is, and help each other out then. And I think that's a big difference too, by the way, when it comes to humanity in general and the thin veil of civility is what it is. Having lived both in the rural area for most of my life and then the big city, major city, Columbus, Ohio, for a couple of years in my life while I was going to college, there is definitely a huge difference both in civility and in community, which is anybody that lives in a major city that tries to tell you that they're part of a community is a fucking lying sack of shit, dude. They are not a community at all, dude. They are a bunch of fucking asshole individuals that don't give two shits about their fucking fellow man. And I can tell you that one firsthand. As someone who fell in that city several times while people watched me fucking fall and nobody did a damn thing to help me up or even ask me if I was okay. And I've seen that shit with so many other people too, man. I was the only person that actually did see somebody else fall, and I was like, "Hey, dude, are you okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm good, I'm good." I'm like, "All right, if you need help up, let me know, man." So, but that's the thing, dude, and that's again my, sense of humanity and stuff like that, being like, "Hey, do you need help up?" kind of thing, versus like other people that are like, "Oh, I just saw you fall from like 30 feet away, and I just came over here and was like, oh." How are you then? Are you okay? And then of course, like half the time, like the one time I fell when it was like fucking wintertime or whatever, it was like some like homeless motherfucker, or I don't think it was homeless, honestly. I think it was just some dude. Fucking like saw me fall on black ice. I was able to finally get up off of it, And he walks over and he's like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." Well, actually, I think I was like, "Nah, I'm kind of fucked up right now, but I'm gonna walk it off anyway." And he's like, "Oh, you got any spare change?" And I'm just like, "Dude, get the fuck out of here!" Like it's ridiculous, dude. And you would see that constantly in that fucking city too, man. Like how many fucking like dudes that would just be quote unquote hustling all day and shit, dude. Where it's not even hustling, you're just begging people for fucking money because you're too much of a lazy asshole to get a real fucking job, is what it is, dude. And then these tend to be the people who it's either them that are on fucking welfare systems and stuff like that, or it's their fucking baby mama and shit like that, dude. Or I should say, all of their baby mamas, because they usually have multiple kids with multiple different fucking women, is what it is, dude. And that's the biggest problem right now in a lot of the cases of our society currently, dude. Is like the lack of a real fucking family structure and shit. And then of course you got dickhead fucking leftists out there that are fucking being all like, "Oh no, you need to have no family structure at all," because in reality, they never had a fucking family growing up, or their family was just shit growing up, is what it was. And so they end up embracing fucking, cultural Marxism through fucking usually third wave feminism through women and gender studies fucking garbage courses in colleges, and then think they're all fucking hot shit and educated and fucking, "Oh, I'm so much better than you are because I have a fucking degree." No, you're a fucking ass clown, fucking book smart dipshit is what it is, dude. And that's what it really is, honestly, at the end of the day. And I was actually thinking about the other day as well, the difference between like book smarts and street smarts and stuff like that, where I think when it comes to street smarts, it's not really that you're smart, you're more like savvy. You're savvy to know what the hell's going on out and about versus people that are like book smart, but they've never had like real world interactions and stuff with people, so they don't understand like how the game is played on the streets and stuff. And so they end up being the ones that get, unintentionally robbed or whatever it is, or something else for that matter, dude, or put themselves in a situation that they shouldn't be in to begin with because they don't know any better, is what it is, man. Or, if you're coming from a, random rural area, never been in a major city, never lived in a major city, you just assume people are cool again, just like you came from. But no, they're just a bunch of assholes looking out for number one and being just a bunch of scumbags, is what it is, man. Which sort of leads us back to the Black Summer thing. And I think that's exactly what we've seen in a lot of those cases, dude, where it's like, yeah, if you're going to be in a major city after the fall like that, dude, you're going to be like sort of essentially like, yeah, I'm out for my own best interest kind of shit. And it's like, you would shoot that person in the face for a fucking can of beans or something like that, where other people would be like, "No, I'm gonna fucking, I have another can here. Would you like this second can that I just pulled out of my pack?" And you have a fucking, and you have a little fire, whatever the case be. You both have some fucking, a hot meal, basically is what it is, dude. And then maybe you become friends after the fact, and you're traveling companions or some shit like that. And I think, unfortunately, that a lot of that's not going to ever happen because you're going to have people that just would rather kill for a fucking can of food than actually be cool and be willing to actually have real humanity again, is what it is, dude. And that's exactly what I've been saying this whole time. Like, it's going to go back to like really an animalistic and tribalistic kind of society is what it'll be. And unfortunately, if you are caught by one of these other tribes and stuff like that, when it's all said and done, you're probably not going to survive. When you get caught in the crossfire and shit like that, how many people now with our grid up, dude, have been caught in the crossfire by a stray bullet or something like that from two fucking gangbangers, dude? A lot. And now they're no longer here, and these pieces of shit are still fucking running the streets because you have a bunch of dumbass Democrats in office who are willing to bail fund them out or create fucking cashless bail or some other stupid shit like that, dude, is what it is. So that's why I believe, truthfully, a lot of what our coming fall is going to be is by design. And the real implementation of it is globalism at the end of the day, dude. It's people that want a one world government. It's people that want to have a one world currency. It's why they keep trying to push this fucking Fed coin shit and get us into a cashless society now. And then you have a bunch of dumbass people that actually work at places where you could accept cash, whether it be a Subway store or a some other fast food place or something like that. And you hand them cash and they're just like, "I don't know what this is. I don't know how to count back your fucking change to you." It's like, bro, you're a fucking cashier. Like, that should be day number one. Skill set is knowing how to make correct change. You should have been learning that shit in school from a very early age, for that matter, of how to count back correct change. Like, that's just basic mathematics, dude. But again, it goes back to that Common Core shit that was architected by that piece of shit fucking Bilderberg puppet, Jeb Bush. And that's another thing, too, by the way. I was actually talking to people about that recently. And somebody was mentioning something about how the Common Core, common crap is what it really is, honestly, dude. That whole fucking indoctrination mathematical program there was done to do nothing more than basically find the most retarded person in the school and put it to their IQ level. And so anybody that's more advanced than that, if you're like basic normal functioning or whatever the case be, or if you're like, you know, like genius level mathematics, you're fucked. Because you're basically going to learn some retarded math is what it is, dude. And then people don't understand, like, why you have kids rebelling against that shit and being like, why am I being taught this fucking stupid ass way, dude? I remember when I was growing up, actually, because, and again, this is before I knew I had autism and stuff like that. Like, that was ADD back in the day. When I was in 5th grade, I was able to do math in my head. And I'm talking about complicated division in my head, dude, where I could see the fucking answer in my mind. Like, I knew what the answer was. And I could do that in my head in like a minute or two. And we're talking about like probably like long division at that point or whatever. And I was writing down the answers, and the teacher was like, no, you got to show your work. And I'm like, why? I know the fucking answer. Like, I do it in my head. And she's like, no, you can't do it in your head, because she couldn't fucking do it in her head is what it was, dude. And that's the entire point. And if they had realized back then my autism and stuff like that, I guarantee you I would have been put in like advanced mathematical courses, dude. And I probably would have been a fucking math genius now. Probably gotten a degree in some kind of math, maybe been a math teacher for that matter or something now. But unfortunately, I was never put in that situation, dude. And people just like, you know, just thought I was fucking. Hell, I had one asshole say I was fucking lazy when they thought I was ADD and shit like that. And it's like, no, you're just a dumb motherfucker who didn't know any better, is what it was, dude. Didn't understand what autism looked like back then. So, yeah, I do blame the system entirely for a lot of my problems nowadays, especially the fucking medical tyranny when it comes to big pharma and misdiagnosis that caused all my health problems for the last 20 years of my life now. So, anyway. But yeah, it's a bunch of shit, dude, entirely. And like I said, though, when it's all said and done, I think we're definitely heading towards a bad place in this country's history. I think you're going to see a lot of people go down a road that they don't think that they're capable of. And I think you're going to see a lot of people, like I said, become true alphas. You know, there's a lot of beta bitches in this country right now, dude. And there's going to be a lot of beta bitches and a lot of delta bitches that are going to fucking, you know, knuckle under when the time comes, whether it be to government tyranny or something else for that matter. And you're going to see a few people, maybe a few million people, become true alphas. And they're not going to put up with it, dude. They're going to be the people that are going to fight back against. They're going to be people that would be the ones that would be leading communities when it's all said and done. And that's the best thing that could happen in this country right now, dude, is we just go back to smaller communities is what it is again. And I think, honestly, that's one of the worst problems right now with our country currently is we've had such an explosion in population forever, pretty much, because of our open border systems and everything else like that, that you have no cooling off periods. When my great-grandparents came here from Poland, from Ireland, from France, etc., and mind you, my Polish ancestors were fleeing fucking communism. They literally fled right before Lenin took power and killed a bunch of people, dude. My Irish ancestors fled for the same reason. It was, well, not the same reason, but a similar reason. I think it was potato famine actually was what caused them to flee here to America. And the thing was, they were both shit on when they came here, dude. 100%. They were basically told, oh, you're a piece of crap. You remember, I don't know if you all have seen the movie Gangs in New York. When the dude's getting off the boat and you got the fucking people that are the quote unquote true blue Americans and shit like that, or whatever they called themselves, the people that were led by Daniel Day-Lewis's character. And they were like throwing shit at these people getting off the boats and calling them fucking racial slurs and stuff like that are racist against Irish people is what it is. Yeah, that's what my fucking ancestors experienced, dude. And, you know, they just came here to live a better life, dude. And they worked their asses off to get there, is what it was, dude. And that's the biggest thing right now. I think there's so many people that just want to game the system anymore, and they don't want to actually work for anything. And they're just like, yeah, the working man's a sucker kind of thing is what it is, man. And unfortunately, you know, when you got Big Daddy government being like, oh, yeah, we'll give you handouts. We'll give you, as long as you got no man in the house, we'll give you all this fucking money and all these fucking benefits and stuff and everything else like that. And that's been something that's been going on since the 70s, man. Hell, my mom, when she was one of the managers at one of the places she worked at, which was a big ass factory they made ice cream at, there was a guy that was named Slim that worked there, and he was actually the father of this woman's children, all of them. Government came along one day and they're like, hey, ma'am, do you have a man in the house? If you don't, you could totally get all these handouts and stuff like that. And she's like, no, there's no man in the house. This dude would sneak out of his own fucking home every day to avoid these fucking people coming around that were from the government that were giving his fucking family handouts, dude. That's how fucked up our society was back then, dude. You're talking about 50-something years ago now. And it's gotten so much worse since then. And it goes to generation and generation and generation after generation, dude. And you can look at the system right now, dude, in our current systems and shit in this country of government assistance, government handouts and stuff like that, dude. And you can 100% see the generational government handouts to the same fucking family generation after generation. And they always keep voting fucking Democrat. Because, oh, I can't cut off the fucking tap anymore because the Democrats are going to give me whatever the fuck I want as long as I keep voting Democrat. Yeah, as long as you keep taking that tyrannical dick up the ass, you're going to get whatever you want, and you're going to fuck the rest of us in the process, motherfucker. And that's the biggest problem right now, and that's what I've said before. When it comes to voting rights, dude, not everybody should have voting rights by default in this country. And honestly, if we did things the correct way, it would be you would have to pass a constitutional test to vote. And it would be based on the Constitution. And if you didn't get X amount of a score, whatever it is, like 70% or something like that, dude, guess what? You don't vote for that election cycle then. Try again next time. And it's the same exact thing for anybody running for politics, dude. If they don't pass like a 90+% on those fucking tests, guess what? You're not running for office this go around. Try again next time, motherfucker. Of course, that would never fly because, again, people would be like, oh, that's unconstitutional. Is it, though? Is it? Or is it something that's definitely fucking needed right now and is totally constitutional? And the problem is people don't implement that kind of shit because they would be like, oh, that's a racist or a classist system. It's like, no, it's not. Learn something. Retain knowledge. Retain constitutional knowledge. You'll be able to pass the shit and you'll have voting rights again, dude. Forever. And that's the thing, man. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with our current school systems, especially public schooling, dude, is that they don't teach these kids a constitutional fucking basis from kindergarten all the way to fucking senior year. And it's something that needs to be done a long ass time ago, dude, because what do you have then? You have all this cultural Marxist bullshit being fucking indoctrinated in these kids' heads now, where it's like, oh, if you're a white kid, you're a racist piece of shit just because. Oh, yeah, CRT doesn't exist in schools, though, right? Bullshit, it doesn't. That's exactly why the parental rights bill is going through Ohio right now, dude. I don't know if that happened this week or not. I think it was either this week or it's supposed to be next week, maybe. I have to look into it, actually. I had some stuff written down, never got a chance to submit, so unfortunately, I might not be able to be part of that first hearing. So it is what it is, man. If I'm not, there's still, like I said, there's still going to be ones in the Senate and shit like that. I'll just submit to that. That'd be the case then, and be like, yeah, here's why I want this to pass, kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's a bunch of shit though, all the way around, dude. That you have to have people intervening and creating stuff because you have so many fucking sickos in our school system, whether it be them trying to indoctrinate the kids into communist bullshit, or whether it be them literally trying to fucking groom these kids to fuck them later on, or have somebody else fuck them later on, because they're literally pedophile enablers is what it is, dude. There might not be pedophiles, but they're pedophile enablers, dude. And that either one, we do not need them in our school system, dude. I don't care which one it is. Don't need either one of them, dude. Kick these people the fuck out. Blackball them from the education system permanently, dude. Hell, blackball them from ever being around children permanently is what it is, dude. Slap them with some fucking charges, dude. Hit them with some fucking felony child abuse charges and everything else like that, and they can't ever be around kids, dude. So, anyway. But yeah, going back to what we were talking about, the grid down and thin veil of humanity and stuff like that. That's the one thing we've learned since 2020, really, is what it seems like, is you saw how thin people's humanity really was, dude. And you saw how easily people were like, okay, big daddy government, I'll just put on the mask. I'll just, roll up my fucking sleeve for you to shove whatever into my fucking body and everything else like that. Oh, you're gonna pay me to do that? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I don't know what this is gonna cause in the long run, but cool. Just put it in me. Put it in me, daddy. Put it in me, big daddy government. Seriously, anybody that took that shit for money, you can go fuck yourself. I'll just straight up say it right now, dude. Like you're one of the worst ones in the fucking mix, honestly, dude. If you did it for fucking money. So anyway, but yeah, it's a whole fucking thing, dude. And I think we're definitely going to go and see a lot of shit happen in this country very soon when it comes to things, dude. And I think you're going to see a lot of people show their true colors. And I think some people already have, honestly. I've always maintained my constitutional basis in this channel and every place else that I've been on the internet from, dude. When it came to 2020, I got more constitutional, dude. I doubled down, and kept doubling down on constitutionalism, dude. I was like, no, all this shit you're doing is unconstitutional. All the shit you're doing is government tyranny. It's why I created the Oathbreaker series over a year and a half ago, that I had to take most of the original ones out on this channel because of the whole thing. Happened with me back in the day then. But yeah, it is what it is. But we're starting to do that again now. And, we've done the grandstands here again. And we're starting to do the 2A cast again. So, all it's coming back now, dude. And the thing is, when it comes to, people's constitutional basis, like, you have to have a base of something, dude. I don't care if it's in faith. I don't care if it's in the actual constitutional rights. Both, hopefully. But you need to have something, because if you have nothing, you're so susceptible to falling for anything, is what it is, dude. And it's why you have the cult speak right now. The fucking leftists is what it is, dude. It's why you can go on places like Twitter, and it's a fucking echo chamber, dude. It's an echo chamber of just dumb assery from the left is what it is, man. Where they fucking worship idiot retards like fucking David Hogg as their fucking, like, basically next Hitler is what it is right now, dude. There's no way that kid's not a fucking future dictator at some point if he ever gets power. Same thing with his fucking buddy Maxwell Frost, dude. If that dude ever gains power, holy fuck, dude. Like, oh my god, you want to talk about authoritarian, man? Oh, Jesus Christ. That is not a fucking country I want to live in after that, dude. And that's what I said. That's why us as a society got to do what we have to do to make sure that these people never gain power, dude. Whether it be recall voting, whether it be automatic disqualification from office, whatever the case be, it does not matter. All of it needs to happen right now, dude. All legal options like that need to be on the table. Do not do anything illegal. Do not do violence against these people, because all you're doing is giving them fucking what they want. You can do it legally. Get elected into office yourself, rewrite the fucking laws, disqualify them from the fucking running, whatever you gotta do, man. Do what needs to be done there. So, because the last thing America needs is some Americanized Hitler or Stalin or Mao or Pol Pot or fucking Che Guevara or Hugo Chavez or Nicolas Maradi or whatever it's going to be, man. So, anyway. But yeah, when it comes to grid down, whoever's watching just left a minute ago. So, but yeah, when it comes to the grid down kind of thing, I think there's a lot of scenarios that could happen right now. And like I said, I think a lot of them lead back to EMP/solar flare stuff. But, what we're looking at right now, we're heading towards a Great Depression again, dude. It could be something like that even, Like, how long until people... I mean, hell, look at Venezuela, right? When Venezuela fell, there was some random guy who was literally chopping people up, putting them into some kind of fucking stew and selling the fucking stew meat is what it was, dude. And people were hungry enough and they're just like, oh, it's just meat. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a piece of meat and some veggies and stuff like that. Cool. Give me a bowl of the stew and here's some money for it. And it turned out that this dude was literally fucking killing people and using them for fucking stew. And it's like, again, unintended cannibalism, dude. I could easily see that happening here in America. I mean, hell, over in Venezuela, there when that country fell again, you had them go into their zoos and literally start offing zoo animals, dude. Now, granted, their zoos were more like donkeys and shit like that, is what it was, dude, and like various like burros and like it was more like a petting zoo, like lambs and stuff like that is what it was. Versus America, where it would be people going in there and fucking taking down elephants and tigers and fucking lions and shit, dude. Penguins. I actually wouldn't mind. Like my thing is, I've actually seriously thought about this, and I'm like, what animal, if I could ever taste like any animal across the board, what would I actually want to eat and like try just to see if it tasted good? Elephant is definitely on the top of my list. Specifically, an elephant's ear. For those that don't know, there's actually a thing called elephant ears that they sell at a lot of fairs and festivals in Ohio and a lot of other states. It's basically just a bunch of sugar. It's basically like a fry bread kind of thing where it's just a bunch of dough that they throw into a fryer and then they throw like cinnamon sugar on top of it. But I'm talking about an actual elephant. It's meaty ear, dude. Because they're always flapping around. I assume that would be like real lean meat, honestly. And it would probably be like a really, really good like strip steak or something, dude. Or even just like their main, body and stuff like that might be good to eat as well, dude. I assume though elephants are probably pretty like because of their girth and shit. I assume that they're probably pretty fatty. Is what it would be. It'd probably be like whale. It would almost be like probably like a whale blubber or something like that. Then another thing that somebody mentioned was a giraffe. I wouldn't mind trying giraffe. I feel like that like obviously their little legs and stuff ain't got nothing in them, but like that midsection of body and stuff, and then the neck and shit, that would probably be some pretty good meat on that. And then I'm trying to think what other big animals would be. Like I know that they have like gazelles and shit like that in those places. They're like the African gazelles and stuff, which are basically a deer. That's what it would be. But I know that I've actually talked to my cousin though before because he's actually eaten some of those in the wild over there in Africa because he's a missionary and stuff. And he said it's like because he's tried like both actual American white-tailed deer and then those, and he's like there is definitely a difference in taste. And his thing was it seemed like that one was a lot more juicy and stuff like that. So that's another thing I wouldn't mind trying would be something like that, like a gazelle or whatever. Then, and then trying to think now, if there's any other like. Maybe a penguin. Penguin would be pretty good, actually. Maybe I don't know. It depends because obviously, that would be almost like a bird, I think, and it would be because with a lot of birds and stuff, like really the only meat on those would be like the breast meat and shit. So it might just be something where you're just like filleting out like their like you know breast areas what it would be then, and just like munching on that then. So I don't know if that'd be good or not. Then it would be interesting to try though. It'd be interesting to try. And then of course you have like various birds and shit that might be interesting. Like some of the big, like maybe like a flamingo or something. Although I'm not really sure there'd be a lot of meat on those though. Is what it would be. Again, I think it'd be mostly breast meat for that specific animal. Ostrich. I've never had an ostrich burger, and I know that there are some ostriches in zoos and shit, so I wouldn't mind trying ostrich. I really like to try ostrich eggs one of these days too, but I know that those things will feed like 60 people or something crazy like that, dude. How big they are, and it takes like a fucking hammer to like break them apart or something, dude, because they're so hard. They're so hard on the outside and shit. So, but yeah, those eggs will make like I think it's like one ostrich egg makes the equivalent of like 20 dozen regular eggs or something like that for chickens. Like it's fucking nuts, dude. Like it'll feed like a family of like I said like probably like 40 to 60 people or something like that, dude. So anyway, but yeah, that'd be interesting to try that though. And then Not sure if there's anything else I'd want to try there or not. I mean, tiger meat might be good, or like lion meat or something like that. Like, who knows? Actually, zebra. That's another one. I would like to see what zebra tastes like. I know when Bear Grylls did the Man versus Wild thing, he actually found like a dead zebra, or zebra as he called it, and he just like cut like a chunk off. That was like eating it raw, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna cook that shit, bro. Like, pretty sure I wouldn't eat that fucking raw, dude. Like, that's just nasty. Especially when you don't know how long it's been there, and it could have been there for like a couple of days or whatever before you got to it, man. And you're sitting there claiming like it's all good, but then he's like spitting out like some nasty bits and shit, and it's like, yeah, dude, because it wasn't all good, is what it was. So, but yeah, I would like to try some zebra, and like really any equivalent of that. So, but yeah, so I don't know. It'd be interesting, dude. I feel like there's definitely some. I feel like when it came, if it comes to grid down and stuff like that, when it came to like major cities and shit, though, you would actually have a small gang of people that would actually come together as an actual gang, and they would just put like a zoo on lockdown kind of thing, is what it is, dude, as like their personal food supply kind of thing or something like that. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens with that then. Then of course you got all the snake varieties and shit like that, which, some of them are good, I've heard, and then there's others that are not the greatest, but I don't know how to cook snake properly, so I don't really want to try that, is what it is. So I'd have to have somebody else make it for me, is what it would be. So I know I'm not like, destroying it. Because apparently when it comes to snake, it's either not totally cooked, or you are basically eating rubber because you overcooked it. And I feel like I'd be one of the first, either the first or the third way, where it's like it's not totally cooked, or it would be rubber. And I'm not about that either way, is what it is. So, but yeah, either way though, it would be interesting to see, what would happen in that scenario and stuff like that. And again, I think a lot of people are not going to make it out, and I think anybody that says that anybody that sits there and be like, "Well, I got a year or two worth of food, and oh, I'm going to totally make it if something happens," and whatever the case be, and it's like, well, it depends on the scenario, bro. If we're talking about full blown collapse and stuff, where it's like grid don't exist no more, I don't think you're going to make it. I think you're going to be overrun very quickly. Is what it'd be. I think you're even and that's another thing too, by the way. Even people that might be your neighbors today and be civil to you and stuff, dude, if they ain't eating for a few days and they're smelling something on the fucking grill, because again, your sense of smell and taste and everything else like that's going to go way the fuck up when you're not eating for several days, is what it is. They smell you cooking something, bro. You better hope you got enough for them, and you better hope that you're real good friends with them, because otherwise they might just take it. They might just take it from you by force if they need to. And it might be again one of those situations where, who's to say that, you know, Jimbo and fucking Cletus ain't gonna be the next ones on the fucking menu, kind of thing, is what it would be, man. Because they tried to take a bunch of shit from Johnny, is what it was, dude. And Johnny wasn't having it. So, you never know, man. I also think there'd be a lot of people that they probably wouldn't eat their own animals, whether it be, dogs or whatever. But I think they would definitely eat other people's animals very willingly. And that's one thing that they did lay out in the book 1 second after, was the dude. He had the main character guy had a couple dogs in that book, and then I think one of them, if I'm not mistaken, gets killed pretty early on, like the first few days of the collapse or whatever. And then it's the people that lived below them. They're like, "Hey, we know you guys don't have a whole lot of food. Like, here you go. If you want to, have this." And it was like the remains of the dog or whatever. And they're just like, "Okay, cool." And yeah, they, you know, did what they needed to with that dog, man. So, and had themselves a couple of good meals out of it, is what it was. So, you know, and I think there's a lot of people that would be like, "No, I'd let the dog eat me before I ate the dog," kind of thing. And there's other people that would be like, "Okay, uh, I don't care because I don't know this dog, so whatever. And then of course there's people that would do like cats and stuff too, but like I don't know. I think cat meat would not be good enough though. Like there wouldn't be enough of it is what it is, dude. Like whereas with dogs, like you still got like, good, like even with like everything else gone, you got like quite a bit left is what it is. My cousin, same cousin that's the African missionary, he was actually talking about one of the villages that he visited over there when they were doing their water well digging for these people. And the village elders were like, "Hey, have some of this meat." And he's like, "Thanks." And of course, it's like highly disrespectful if you don't eat their fucking shit that they're handing to you, is what it is. And he's like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks." And he takes a bite of it and he's like, "It's not bad." And he like ate whatever like was left of it then because it was like just a small little piece is what it was or whatever. And yeah, they told him later, they're like, "Yeah, that was dog, dude." I think it was the wild dogs though, so there is a slight difference is what it is between like domesticated animals and stuff and like what they have over there, which is those like crazy like wild dogs that are like a dog wolf hybrid kind of thing or something. So it's not quite the same, but it's still like, yeah, you ate fucking dog, man. Like, eh. And he told me, I was like, how was he? He's like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. So, you know, and yeah, that's the thing, dude. People like that'll eat that kind of stuff over there because again, it's the only food they have is what it is. So, and like I said, I think when things are said and done, you'll have people go, in this country specifically, if we ever fall, it'll definitely go very tribalistic very quickly is what it'll be. And like I said, it might be based on, you know, race, but I think in a lot of cases it'll just be based on regional is what it would be, dude. It would be based on people that, in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And it would be, you might have a couple white guys, a couple black dudes, Asian person or two, and maybe a Latino couple or something like that and their kids as your tribe. Like it might be some, tribe like that, or it might be just, 6 or 8 white families, or it might be 6 or 8 black families, or it might be 6 or 8 Latino families, or it might be 4 or 5 Asian families and then like 2 white families together or something like that, depending on where you're at and stuff. It could be anything like that, dude. So, it's only a matter of time before we'd find out though in the grid down. And I think unfortunately again, people, I'm just gonna say it like it is right now, dude. I believe everybody to some extent in this country, and every country for that matter, every person in human history, dude, has some racial prejudice. If you're not willing to admit that you do, you're a lying sack of shit, dude. And the big thing with me is I'll fucking admit it, dude. Yeah, I have prejudice, dude. I think everybody does. And the thing is, with myself anyway, at least I'm willing to fucking admit that, Other people are not. Now, granted, doesn't mean I'm racist. Doesn't mean I hate fucking people based on the color of their skin. No, that's fucking stupid. And that's the whole point, dude. And talking about historical facts and how a country was founded and what it was founded upon and literally spitting truth does not make you a racist. And the people that think it does are fucking retarded, is what it is, dude. And it's really as simple as that, honestly. So, anyway, yeah, there's some stuff I want to get off my chest for a while now. And I kind of said it when I came back with this channel, but there's still some other things I do want to talk about. But unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about them on this platform because, again, I don't need fucking people bitching and moaning some more is what it is. But yeah, I'm still pissed. I'm going to say it like that, dude. I'm still pissed over what happened, and I will never be not pissed is what it is, dude. So just know that anybody that's ever slandered me out there, that if I ever find out who you are, you will be getting defamation lawsuits up your ass is what it is. So, just know that now. But anyway, other than that, that's pretty much where we're at for the day, though. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all in the next one.